For years, the audience has watched as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and just in general the entertainment industry, continue to put more and more focus on identity politics as opposed to actually entertaining people. And if you complained about that, what did they say? Well, you're just a toxic man. You're just a troll. You don't have any power. They don't care about what you say. Well, fast forward a couple years later, and it turns out, as we stated the entire time, the villain in She-Hulk, the bad guys in She-Hulk, are toxic men on the internet. Evidently, it went from "you're not important, you don't matter" to "this is how threatening the audience is. This is how threatening the fan base is to Marvel, that they feel the need to make an entire show dedicated to telling you that a hyperbolized version of that's the biggest threat there is to female superheroes." And then, of course, they're bragging about it in the aftermath of She-Hulk, of the disaster that was She-Hulk, from beginning to end, a cringe, unfunny disaster. But that's what you get when you decide to go out there, not to entertain people, but to preach a message. That's what She-Hulk was. Now they're just essentially admitting that. She-Hulk team explains the fourth wall break in finale and delivering a "fuck you" to toxic Marvel trolls. Throughout She-Hulk Attorney at Law, Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk, repeatedly breaks the fourth wall by not only directly addressing the camera, but acknowledging she exists in a Marvel Studios superhero TV show. In the season finale, pointedly titled "Whose Show Is This?", Jennifer smashes out of the show entirely, jumping through the Disney Plus portal to confront the writers of the show about why the finale is so needlessly convoluted with extraneous, nonsensical plot lines, including one about a cabal of toxic fanboys who troll Jennifer online about being a female superhero who doesn't deserve her powers. And now they're gonna talk and tell everybody how important it was for them to take a shot at the fans. In addition to breaking the fourth wall, the finale tackles some of the exact same trolling comments that Marvel fans have been making. All right, so they are Marvel fans. That's how this question is addressed. Marvel fans. Yet you say it's just trolling comments. Now, the word troll has just been used completely out of context for the past several years. If someone doesn't agree with you, they're just trolling. That's just a troll. If someone has a different opinion than you, which is absolutely ludicrous, which is ridiculous. A troll implies that they're being disingenuous, or that they don't feel or mean that in some way. A lot of people talking about the MCU, a lot of people that are being critical of the MCU and this garbage show in general aren't trolling. That's actually how they feel. But again, if you don't agree with the elites, if you don't agree with the people in the Marvel Studios, well then you're just a troll. Tatiana Maslany responds, "Jessica Kao is a genius and knows about the culture we're living in. And in her position, she knows when she's writing these stories about a woman superhero. She knows what the response is going to be. As a cast, it was delightful sending each other these troll responses like, oh my God, give them a week, and they're literally going to see this pop up and become the villains of the show. It was thrilling." Now, we have seen the reaction to She-Hulk Attorney at Law. You can blame it's just a couple trolls. It's just some review bombing. That's not the case. People do not like this show. People aren't tuning into this show. They're not watching this show because it's an unlikable main character. It's a comedy that's not funny. And at the end of the day, we were complaining about how the plotline was so convoluted. It didn't matter at all. So if you watched the first 8 episodes of this series, well, you wasted your time because in the end, they threw the entire plotline out in the trash for a joke that, again, was not funny. Now, for Jessica Kao and Tatiana Maslany to pretend, well, these are just the comments you get when you have a female superhero, that's weird. Does anybody remember the giant, massive backlash against Wonder Woman? Does anyone remember that? Oh, no way. It was a well-received character that in general, the audience liked. Not everybody, certainly. Not everybody is ever going to like anything universally. But by far the vast majority of the people, they did enjoy Wonder Woman. In the same way that if you have a male character that is well-liked and well-received in a story that entertains people, what do you know? The fans are gonna like that. Same exact thing with female characters. Even take something like, say, Black Widow, right? Black Widow, I thought was a terrible movie. A lot of people had a problem with it, especially the fact they chose to not make it till after she was already dead. But nevertheless, the audience in general had a much better reception for this character than they did for She-Hulk. She-Hulk, and that's not even close. Maybe it's because they'd seen Black Widow for so long, and she was well-liked by a lot of people. For some, all the way up until this movie aired, she was well-liked. But you're not seeing the same reaction that you saw for something like She-Hulk, but they want to push the idea that, no, because we had a female character, we knew that the audience would react like this. Do you know why it's predictable to know what some of the criticisms will be about She-Hulk? You know why we can tell you exactly what this show is going to be from the beginning? Because this has been Hollywood. This has been the entertainment industry for the past several years. They have such a focus on virtue signaling and on pushing identity politics that you know what it's going to be. You know that so often they're going to push a female character, and instead of just giving us that character to get to know and enjoy and understand and sympathize with all these things, they have to do it in a way that tears down established male characters. Every single fucking time you look at Star Wars, you look at Marvel, it is predictable at this point, which is why when people saw what was going on, they had the same complaints that they've had for a very long time. It's not rocket science. It's not so hilarious that you predicted some of the clear criticisms when you made a show based entirely on identity politics with no goal to really entertain people. All you wanted to do was shit on fans, and now you're laughing about that in the aftermath. All this has done has shown that everything we have been saying for years is 100% correct. These people fucking despise you if you don't align 100% with them. Here's another answer from Tatiana Maslany. Were you expecting to face the trolls when you sign on for the show? Reading the script, it was so true. There's so much resistance to a woman just existing in that space of superheroes. Again, yes, so much resistance to Wonder Woman, so much resistance to a character like Black Widow, so much resistance to Gamora, right? Or any number of Marvel characters that have already existed before you. But yes, there's a big resistance. There is a big resistance to dog shit characters that are pushed in people's face for identity politics, for characters that have no depth, for characters that are unlikable as fuck. I agree with that, but it has nothing to do with them being female. It has everything to do with the way that they're written. There's a lot of resistance to male characters in the MCU this day and age as well. I don't think it has anything to do with them being female. It's why I also feel it's important. There's such an entitlement to space held by certain people, and to even exist as She-Hulk is like a fuck you, and I love that. These people are gloating and laughing because look at what we did. We made the fans the villain of our show, and we're happy to do it. But we got to go down to Jessica Gao, the person who self-inserted herself twice into her own show. Really, this entire show is a self-insert by 30-something bitter women writers. It's really what it is. How did it feel to accurately predict what the trolls would be saying? Our writer's room opened 3 years ago. The fact that we were able to predict what the reaction was going to be, what a lot of the trolling comments were going to be, really shows how very tired and unoriginal these trolls are. That tickled me because the little troll that lives inside me really loves trolling the trolls. Well, you certainly feed that troll that's inside you pretty well based on how you look. But what I will say, Jessica Gao, is that the very fact that 3 years ago you sat down with the intention to shit on fans is very, very telling. The idea that 3 years ago you guys decided instead of making something that's entertaining, instead of making something that people will come back to and watch and you'll say, look at this, guys, this is fucking awesome. The fact that you instead went out to insult the fan base and attack the fans is very telling. And as I stated before, the reason that 3 years ago you knew what people would say is because you didn't do anything original with this script. You did the same exact thing, except this time you were just very open about despising the fans while you did that. What an absolute disaster. And you know, we've seen it play out in the ratings. Here's the top 10 for this week. She-Hulk, nowhere to be seen. You have to go to original streaming. She-Hulk is 10th. They are barely hanging on to a spot in the top 10 of original programming. And I think when you factor in everything else, they're about 23rd, the 22nd or 23rd most streamed thing. When you factor in all the acquired programming that's beating them, not to mention all the original programming that's beating them. It's a disaster, but it's one of their own making. Now they're bragging about attacking the fans. We told you this is what they were going to do. We told you that they hated the fan base, and sure enough, they decided to make an entire show based solely on that. A disaster, but an expected one for the MCU. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching, everyone.
And a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.